just gonna dive right into it. This movie was disgusting, disturbing, insane, extremely horrific, and nasty. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in. It is still being taken in by my brain, and I am going to do my best to push through because I have never watched a movie that I can recall at least that was so gory and nasty in my life. And I usually stay away from these kinds of movies because I didn't know it was going to be this kind of movie. And if you've watched Barbarian, you know what I'm talking about. It was. I did not like it at all. When I say I did not like it, I didn't think the movie was horrible. I actually thought the movie was pretty good. It has a really good meaning behind it. But I would not watch this again. Nope. Nope. Not gonna happen. This this is crazy because I'm doing this as soon as I finish watching this film because I know a lot of these thoughts are gonna be gone by tomorrow and I really don't want to remember them, even though the image of the mother in this film is forever instilled in my brain and I'm going to have to wash it with alcohol and soap and detergent just to get rid of the image because it was horrid. um I want to thank the person that recommended this movie because I'm glad I got it out of the way. It wasn't a horrible movie. It was just not my cup of tea, if that makes sense. It was a lot, but like I said, it does have a really good meaning behind it. And spoilers ahead, of course. So if you haven't watched it yet and you want to watch it, you might want to stop here. But I think the depiction of how what men are shown in this is very accurate. They're creeps. They only care about themselves, a lot of them, and they're disgusting. Except for that one man, I don't know what his name was, the one that Tess helped Tess out and everything, but everyone else was assholes. The police officers were rude. That idiot actor was so stuck up and self-centered and only cared about himself. And through it all, you realize that it's only the women that actually give a shit about everyone else. Like, they give a shit about helping people, about getting them to safety and all this stuff, even though it's a dangerous situation. Like, they go out of their way to do this. But it's interesting about that idea. But the story was all over the place to me, and I hate how much it jumped. I hate it. I'm sorry. It confused the hell out of me, and I'm like, okay, I'll rewatch it again to maybe understand it more. I don't want to. It was a genius film, don't get me wrong. It was very complex. It was definitely a film that I've never watched before, and I hope I never come across again. But I do want to talk about something, at least, that I liked, is that there was a lot of Easter eggs throughout the film. Obviously the one with the woman, caretakers, they're very loving, they're very protective, and they care a lot about the people around them. The snake that hangs from Tess's car rear view window was also a depiction of life and death. The woman at the grocery store, she was very kind, respectful, and she's religious. So I don't know what that means, but I thought that was a nice touch to the film, and that it's a woman actually helping the man out. But I really don't have anything else to say about the plot of the story, but I definitely want to talk about the beginning of the film because before all the craziness happened, I actually really enjoyed it. Now, I really liked how this movie started. As someone that's watched a bunch of films, that's taken a bunch of film classes, it really set the tone. I didn't know what to expect. I personally went into this film not knowing what was going to happen, but for some reason I thought that the man that was staying in the Airbnb along with Tess was bad. I'm like, okay, he's the villain in this, he's going to do something bad. And I was so instilled in that that I felt really bad for him at the same time because he's like very eccentric in a way. He is kind of weird, and for some really weird reason, he reminded me a lot of myself. Being that I'm always very outgoing, I'm always very respectful. I know that guys are creeps. A lot of them are creeps, and they're just rude and disrespectful. And I never want to give that off to anyone. And I always want to be a gentleman to everybody. But yeah, he was very kind, respectful. I'm like, okay, he's gonna do something bad. Like, it's always the person that's very nice and respectful that ends up being the bad person. Oh, how wrong I was. Oh, how wrong I was. And when she was calling him down from the basement because Tess ended up like finding all these rooms in the basement, and it was like really weird. He like went to check it out, and he wouldn't answer, and then he's like screaming for help, and then she like confronted him, and he was trying to calm her down, and then the mother, that's what her name is, came and killed him, smashed his head into the wall like 100 freaking times, and then scene cut to the beach. That's, I'm sorry, that like immediately like ruined the mood. I just remember my jaw being dropped during the entire scene. I'm like, well, wait. I'm like, is this the same movie? Is this a commercial? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, what does this have to do with the movie? And then obviously it answered itself because it's that guy that was like at the beach, like driving in his car. That's his apartment. And obviously they're not renting it out properly because like the lady he calls is like, oh, it hasn't been rented in weeks. I'm like, what? So obviously the lady is in on it too, somehow. I think Bonnie, who is like the person that takes care of the land for Airbnb, she's definitely in on something. She knows something, but unfortunately we won't find out because there's not going to be a Barbarian 2, according to like the creator or director of this film. And side note, this film actually did pretty well for the budget because the budget was around 4.5 million and they did 45.4 million dollars worldwide at the box office. That is 10 times the profit, which is amazing. That's good for the person that made it, but it was extremely disturbing. And I'm going to keep saying how extremely disturbing it was because I am not going to sleep tonight. I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight. But there were some really good touches to the camera work, to the directing. I really like the touch of the thunder and rain, and then like at night how there's like these weird sounds happening and doors opening by themselves, closing by themselves. That's another thing. Who was opening and closing the doors? Because it can't be the woman, like the mother, because like why was she waiting for them to come down? I don't know. I'm confused because she comes out at night, so maybe she opened the door, but I don't know how the doors are closing by itself. I don't know. It's just really weird architectural touch. Might have a deeper meaning to it. Unsure. But I really liked the talk that they had in the beginning. Let me just get straight to it. I liked the talk. I liked how the guy and Tess, I don't know what his name was. I think Keith. I think his name was Keith. I'm trying to forget this movie as much as possible. I'm sorry if this review isn't going so well so far, but I'm trying to make it good because it wasn't a horrible movie. It just wasn't my type of movie, but there were some parts that I definitely enjoyed, and most of them were in the beginning because it was good. Oh! I loved the part where like the freaking actor that's like was accused of like sexually assaulting someone, when he was measuring the freaking basement so that he can add it to the square footage of like the listing. I'm like, okay, this guy is so money hungry. He's hysterical. He's so stupid. He's like measuring the freaking basement, like going deeper and deeper and deeper. And he's like, oh, more space, cool. I'm like, how dumb are you? You're going into a freaking dark place that you've never been in with a ruler, and you're measuring out the length of the entire room. Like, that's crazy and psychotic to me. I'm like, okay, this guy is money hungry. But it was so funny how it like backfired on him because he met the mother, and like at the end, of course, he ended up dying, which was a very satisfactory moment. I'm so happy that he died at the end. He deserved it. He freaking pushed Tess off of the water tank from the top to save himself. And then he like went to her, realized she was alive. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, but you have to understand why I did this and that. I'm like, what? I'm like, someone please shoot this person. Please do it. And then the mother, I was going to say the other mother, like in Coraline, but the mother got up and pierced his eyes and then ripped his head apart. disgusting, gory, very, very, very violent. Um, I'm like closing my eyes while saying this because I still can't get the image out of my head of how just nasty this film was. But it was good. It was good. I swear I'm not bashing on it, but I'm not gonna watch it again. Props to the director, props to people that really enjoyed this movie. I don't know how people are saying this movie is better than The Conjuring. You guys might have better interest in me, like in terms of like what type of horror you like. But that movie was very different. I'm gonna call it different. And I like want to give my rating now for some reason, so I'm gonna give it now. I give it a. I have to be fair on this because I can't. I'm judging it based on me. This is an opinionated review. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. A 6.5 because of how much it jumped and the gore and how nasty it was and how confusing a lot of it was up until the end. And then the freaking way the movie ended at the end, I'm sorry. Like she kills the mother like with the gun and everything. And then like that's where the credits start rolling. I'm like, huh? I hate movies that end so abruptly like that, but I have to look at the beauty of how well the directing was, how well the cinematography was, the conversations at the beginning before all the craziness started. It was good. The acting was amazing, by the way. I have to put that out there right now. The acting was very, very good, so I might actually give this a 7 out of 10 because the acting was superb for like a small cast. It was wow. It was wow. That's the best way I can put it. And they had a really good connection with each other on set. And Bill Skarsgård is in this. He plays Keith. He's the one that plays Pennywise. I couldn't look at him without seeing Pennywise. I'm like, why is he being so nice? I'm like, this is really weird. This is a change of scenery, I guess you can call it. I have to be fair though, it is very gory. And I think I'm being a little bit unfair because I really like that movie. But this one was just a different type of gore that I disliked greatly, and the jump scares were horrible. They were horrible, and when there was like first person perspective in like the parts when they were in the cave, I had my eyes shut the entire time. I'm like, nope, something's gonna jump out at me, and then the freaking mother jumps out. I'm like, nasty. I just think overall the cordial talk that Tess and Keith were having in the beginning of the film was kind of a breather. I wish that happened throughout the whole film. I was hoping for this to be like a psychological horror, and it was nothing like a psychological horror. Well, maybe a little bit, some things, but it was a lot. It was definitely a lot, but I enjoyed the talk that they had, like exchanging thoughts about like what they do and where they're from, like what they're aspiring to do when they grow up. I thought it was all very sweet and put together very well, and I wish that lasted longer. I was like hoping for like a romantic psychological horror. We did not get that. We did not get that at all. This movie is not that. So if you're going into this expecting that, turn away and don't even bother watching it because you will be very disappointed. But regardless, it was a good film. It was a good one-time film. It's one of those films that you can watch one time but never again. I have a bunch of those films. Another example of a film that I'll never watch again is Gone with the Wind because it's so depressing and it's so sad and so much happens, and I'm like, I don't want to go through this again. And also it's a 4-hour movie with an intermission. I don't want to watch that. But I think if I had to choose between Barbarian and Gone with the Wind, I'd go with Gone with the Wind because Barbarian was just too much. It was a lot and very unpredictable. Let me just say that it was extremely unpredictable. I did not know what to expect, even when like things were rolling along. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to expect. Like you think you do, but you don't. Now, with all of this being said, I do want to say that I might revisit this film in the future. And when I say revisit, I don't mean watch again. I'm saying I might reflect on it differently. Like tomorrow, I might wake up and be like, wow, that was actually a really good, well done film. You never know. I don't know. We'll see, because a lot of movies, it takes a while for me to let it soak in, like try to understand like the meaning behind it, to try to get into thinking and comprehension. This might be one of those movies, and I'm being honest when I say that. I actually might end up liking it, which is weird, but at the same time, I would not watch it again. At least right now, I would not watch it again. I'm just afraid I'm gonna come back on next week and be like, yeah, I would definitely watch Barbarian again. But I am 100% not in that mindset right now. So don't even get it twisted, because that film was crazy. But to anyone out there listening that is into gore and violence and nasty stuff, this movie is 100% for you. You guys will love it. You guys will love every second of it. You guys will be smiling the entire film and will leave with the biggest smile on your face like the Joker. So if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely watch this film. I highly recommend it to anyone out there that is in that mindset that likes this type of horror. But if you like more psychological horror, suspense, thriller, not so much gore in the way that Barbarian is, then I would probably not watch this film. I'm sorry to be saying that. I mean, you can watch it, I just don't think you guys would enjoy it, but that's just my opinion. You guys can watch it still, and then like let me know your thoughts. Please message me. I would love to know if you guys actually enjoyed this film or not. If you guys are planning on watching it, there's a Q&A below here on Spotify that you guys can drop your comments in and let me know if you guys have watched this or not, or if you plan on doing it. And also message me on Instagram at the Horror Headquarters, or on Twitter at the Horror HQ, or on TikTok. All of the links are right there below in the description, and I look forward to seeing your guys' responses. Now, before we move on to the poll results, I do want to discuss the fact that this film was filmed in Detroit, Michigan. I find that very interesting, very peculiar, but I think the director definitely got what he wanted, because Detroit is perceived by a lot of people as like dangerous and scary and filled with robbers and murderers and crazy people, which, of course, every single town in the world has that, but Detroit is kind of glorified in that way, which is kind of sad, because it has been getting better. I promise you, it has been getting better. As someone that lives in Michigan, it has been getting better. It's not as bad as it used to. Not to say that it's the perfect town 100%, nothing wrong with it, but I personally don't think it's as bad as it's perceived in the film. And I also want to talk about this fun fact. The title of the movie is written only using the letters from Airbnb, a nod to the story's main setting in addition to its primary meaning. I don't know why that's just hitting me now. Airbnbs terrify me already. I will never do one, because you never know what might be lurking in someone else's house. You don't know if they have secret cameras, anything like that. I don't trust them. I do not trust them. I've had so many people that I've known that have had such bad experiences with Airbnb, and I'm not interested in finding a secret basement with all these tunnels in it. No, thank you. I will pass. There is one more thing that I want to mention. There's no wonder that this movie was very different, because the person that created it like pitched it to A24, which is a studio that has like a reputation for producing like very artsy horror films, and they denied it. And then 20th Century Studios ended up taking a chance on it, and then they made 10 times the budget back that I mentioned in the beginning. So A24 was probably in the corner weeping, because this film still has a great following. A lot of people are still watching it, and they rewatch it for some reason, which I don't understand, but it's crazy. So it just shows you that if you take a chance on something or someone, you never know where it'll lead you. There's so many more fun facts to this film. I'm just finding them now, and I have to put them out for you guys. I also want to mention that the exterior shots, though they were filmed in the neighborhood of Detroit Brightmoor, the rest of the film was shot in Bulgaria. Wow. I mean, that kind of makes sense, because there's like a freaking beach scene. I'm like, there's not a beach like that in Detroit. No way. Or even in Michigan, that I am aware of at least. But reading the fun facts, I'm actually enjoying the film's Easter eggs more, because there's so many hidden details that like kind of foreshadow what's gonna happen in the film. So I have a lot of respect for that. So my final review for this film is a 7 out of 10.